Everyone's ready. It's okay, it's gone. I now call the Senate meeting to order on July 7th, 2015 at 6 p.m. First thing on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have the flag now. So, can we have Colonel Horizon please lead us?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have first call. So does everybody have their clickers?
No.
Okay.
Thanks.
So if everyone who's here press the 1 to mark that you're present. Did everybody click in? All right, we have the first roll call of 29. Moving down the agenda, we have additions, deletions, and or clarifications to the order of the day. The amended agenda was sent out earlier today, and with it added the resolution on first reading JVR 50-001 in memory of the Charleston church shooting victims, and then also the 2 confirmations which passed JDC earlier. Is there a motion to accept the amendments? Chairwoman Wyatt.
I move to accept the amended agenda.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, it has been accepted. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Senator Almaner.
I move to approve the agenda.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, the agenda has been approved. Next are additions, deletions, and or clarifications to the minutes. Is there a motion to accept? Chairman Hibble.
I move to postpone.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, the agenda is bound. Next on the agenda, we have the legislative branch report. So we'll start with Committee on.
Hello, everybody. This week, we're going over some more legislation. We have Title III legislation that I'm read, Title VIII bill, Title II bill. We're going over legislation this term that was vetoed and tabled at the end of the term. And we're also going over SOP for the Sports Club Council. What else are we doing? We're going to, yeah, I think that was it in the beginning. That's Title VII. Title VII is that's it for me. I'm going to be right now. Oh, we're going over our SOPs. That's what it was. Our own committee SOP. And everything else is tentative, so I'll just stop it here.
Are there any questions for Chairman Hibble? Seeing none, thank you. Next, we'll go to the Committee on Appropriations and Audit.
Hello, Senate. We didn't have a meeting yesterday we had no new business technically. There are 2 organizations that have submitted interim budgets so far, and I got a lot more about an hour ago that I have to check. So we're going to have lots of work to do for appropriations and audit. Very exciting. I am in the process of setting up meetings with the Pre-Veterinarian Society and the Florida Structural Engineering Organization. So if you guys are interested in attending a budget meeting and seeing how that works, please feel free to contact me. You guys are welcome to accompany me for the budget meeting. And that is it.
Okay, any questions for Chairwoman Dinster? Seeing none. Next, we have the Committee on UCGA.
Hello, everyone. So, Juan Zapata has created a Google Doc with all the information, all the sign-up events, which I mentioned, and brought forth. So now, Google Doc will be sent out and you can sign up electronically. Also, we'll be starting working on resolutions, and Chairman Hibble just finished the template for that, so thank you, sir. And also, we're looking into our first 10th day with athletics in the near future. And also, here are the events that you can sign up for this week. So tomorrow and on the 10th at 1:45, MSC is orientation. Movie in the Hall, July 8th. So tomorrow at 8 p.m. JP, Summer Splash Bash, which will be all fun, so just see here. That's on the 9th at 12 at Magnolia Pool, and the yard show as well at 6 at MSC. These events will be sent out with the Google Doc, so you'll get confirmation on that. But that was just to highlight what's going on this week. Also, the committee is working on pushing initiatives through, and each individual senior.
Are there any questions for Chairman Viola? Seeing none, next the Committee on Judiciary and Ethics.
Senate JC met today. We have 3 confirmations. All 3 were confirmed. 2 of them are right there, and we've seen them later on. The third was the Assistant Director of Music for Global Radio, who was unanimously passed, so there weren't really any concerns for him. If you have any questions for the other 2 confirmations, feel free to reach out to me during the discussion. And we're going to begin in the Senate. Also, my vice chair here, chairman for committee meeting, so that was really exciting. JC will not be meeting next week, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Any questions for Chairwoman White? Okay, next we have Committee on Special Funding.
Hi everyone. So last week, the Special Funding Committee met and went over a couple of travel grants and tradition grants. Tonight, we will be looking at a Title VIII bill to reopen the new tradition grant. And next week, we have several travel grants to look at if you'd like to.
Are there any questions? All right, next we have First and Board Thoughts.
Hey, good evening, Senate. So what I have been working on, it's been a slow couple of weeks, which is nice for us. It's a nice break. But I have been working on the Google Doc for the attendance. We hired our Senate transcriber 2 weeks ago, and he started last Monday, yesterday. And now we have the committee set up for the 4th transcriber. So after that, we're going to have a full staff, which means that the minutes and everything will be updated frequently. Besides that, the election ad hoc Title VII committee is going well. We're making good progress in that. There's a lot of good debates that are occurring throughout the duration of the committee meeting, so you guys should come and take part in that. There's nothing this Thursday, but the meeting is next Thursday at 7. Lastly, Senator Griffin was elected Vice Chair of UCGA. I think I mentioned that 2 weeks ago. And so congratulations to Senator Elmanayer for Senator of the Month for the month of June.
No, it
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So are there any questions for President Board? Seeing none, I'll move to my report, and it's kind of fun, guys, so it's scary. So Judith and I have been starting to plan the Know Your 9 conference along with Title IX, and that'll be taking place on September 9th and 10th, so we highly encourage, we'll let you guys know we have more details about that. A contract has been signed for the Global Conversation Series, so planning for that will be happening soon to figure out who the speakers are. We also re-signed the safety contract with University PD. And just as Chairman Hibba mentioned, the Sports Club Council will be having their SOPs presented to the Committee on Rules soon, and they'll probably have some changes to statutes also. We had a meeting with the Riverfront Park to be renovating the front of it, so that'll be coming out of the Lakeland Fund. A couple weekends ago, I attended the Florida Student Association meeting at FAU, so that was really good. It was a planning retreat to figure out what direction FSA wants to go in, which is comprised of the 12 universities in the state of Florida. An unallocated cash flow was sent to the Committee on Appropriations and Audits today, and that's because last term in ASARC, there were a couple of discrepancies between what the intention of ASARC was to fund and what was on the bill. I've also been going to the election ad hoc meetings. And then on Friday, Senator Carradine, Chairman Hibba, and I will be traveling, and Senator Munir will be heading to USF Sarasota Manatee to go visit their Senate meeting. And then on July 20th, we'll be going to USF St. Pete to visit their Senate meeting. So if any of you guys are interested in going to St. Pete on July 20th, you have to let me know by the end of the day. Because if you don't, then you probably won't go. Also, I think most of you signed up for your sizes for the polos. If not, let President sign them. And then one other thing is when you're speaking in Senate, you need to stand up. And so that helps kind of a formal, more way to kind of show who's speaking on the floor at that time. Any sort of technology, so cell phones, iPads, or laptops, if they're not being used for Senate-related things, we ask that you put them away. And if the Sergeant at Arms sees you on Facebook, he is more than happy to come by, tap you on the shoulder, and tell you to get off. So, or if it happens a lot, then I'll even make an announcement. So, because you guys should be concentrating while you're here, because you're here to represent your constituents. So after all these meetings, you should be able to go to them and tell them what happened. And if you can't, then you should probably pay attention. Also, in our RLPs, it says there's no talking, leaving or entering the room during voting procedures. So make sure you guys remember that. Are there any questions? Senator Almuneer.
You informed us that if you want to attend the St. Pete on 20th, to inform you during the meeting, can you know?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Anyone else who wants to go? It's probably going to be an all-day trip. Just let me know because we have to sign travel stuff. Are there any other questions, comments? No? Okay, next on the agenda is the executive branch report, and we have Chief of Staff Taylor Sanchez.
Good evening, Senate. President Rodriguez is currently taking his GMAT today, so I hope all of you wish him luck. And then Vice President Malenga is in Orlando with his internship in Floyd, so some things that have been going on within the executive branch for the past week or so. With hiring, we're in the process of hiring our candidate for the Assistant Director of Programming and Assistant Director of Marketing position. For agencies, we have Student Government Computer Services. We are working on the AD of Business for that agency. As well as Pulse Radio, we're working on the AD of Programming and the Sports Group. So we're hoping to wrap all those up by the end of this week, minus any complications. CFO Swan was elected chair of the Local Fee Recommendation Committee, and she wanted me to let you know that the next meeting will be tomorrow at 3 p.m. in the SG conference room. So if you're interested in that, make sure you stop by. Personally, I have been in the executive branch representative for the ALSOL director interview process. The final candidate interview is tomorrow at 11 a.m. and it will be held in MSC 1306. The candidate is Ms. Bianca Williams, who's currently the interim director of ALSOL. So if any of you are Greek or if not even Greek and would like to find out more about this candidate, feel free. It'll be tomorrow 11 a.m. in MSC 1306. I'm also serving on the Associate Dean Search Committee, and we're in the process right now of reviewing the applications. I believe there was about 200 candidates who applied. So we're just, as a search committee, we're going through and kind of narrowing those down to maybe top 20. So that's definitely a lengthy process. Within our Office of Legal Affairs, our Attorney General has written 2 new legal opinions, and as well as finalized the draft for the Riverfront Park Memorandum of Understanding. Also, he wanted me to let you guys know that the SAFE team contract has been signed and executed. And as well as our legal affairs is working with housing and UPD and Office of Multicultural Affairs and some other stakeholders on campus to plan the Know Your Rights event, which is just to inform students of their general legal rights here on campus as a student. And then as Wes hit on earlier in his announcement, our outreach and communications and marketing are working on a Summer Bee and Orientation event sign-up list, which I believe has been sent out by Kristen and Tammy, our office manager for Escato. So take a look if you're free for any of those. It'll show you who the contact is. It'll either be Danielle Sanchez or Juan Zapata, and it'll have all the dates and times, and you'll be in contact with them. So we really need some help, and we'd like some representation from any of the other branches if you're available. And also, our Director of Programming, Ms. Danielle Fox, is working on Glow in the Park, which will be next Saturday, July 18th in the evening over at Riverfront Park. We'll probably have a bunch of help from Street Team, but if any of you guys are interested in helping out, feel free to reach out to either Juan with Communications and Marketing or Danielle with Programming, just to let them know that you'd be interested to help. It's going to be a big task, and we're excited to welcome all the Summer Bee here on campus.
Are there any questions for your Chief of Staff? Alright. Seeing none? Next on the agenda, there are questions, sorry, Senator Mayor.
Can you explain further what exactly is a glow art, please?
Yeah, Glow in the Park.
Thank you.
So it's an event that's annually held in Riverfront Park, and we collaborate with Campus Rec, and Housing is the other one. And there's some glow in the park, or excuse me, glow in the dark games, like cornhole, frisbee, stuff like that. I think the only thing that we're providing is the glow in the dark games and the ice pops, and it's a collaboration. I think Pulse Radio will probably be there, and some other on-campus activities, and we'll be busing students over via the Bull Runner. So Danielle's just been the past couple weeks collaborating with Housing and Campus Rec on getting that all figured out.
Any more questions for Taylor? Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is judicial branch report, and we have Justice, no. Do it.
Hi, Senate. Not much is new to report, just some minor things. First, I've been representing and supporting the Elections Ad Hoc Committee Thursdays, so that's been going on well. Also, I will be working in conjunction with Senator Miller on Title V. We'll be seeing that later on, and we'll get to see it first. And if any of you have any questions on parking appeals that will be going on this next week, 15th and on 29th, let me know or ask anybody else. And if any of you have a ticket and are looking for the deal, contact our Solicitor General. Thanks for looking. Any questions?
Next, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is our ESCOT report.
I got a new to share that hasn't already been shared, so I won't waste your time.
Okay, next is open forum. Do we have any announcements, anything for? Alright, seeing none, next on our agenda, moving to general business, we have the Jim Walter Partnership Center presentation, and we have the director, Manny, here to do a presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Manny Rivera. I'm the director of the Jim Walter Partnership Center here at the University of South Florida. I'm part of the Office of Community Engagement and Partnerships. And I want to talk to you about an exciting opportunity that we've got, possibly to see if you as organizations or as individuals will want to participate. And this is something that we do a lot of community engaged work. Part of our work at the Jim Walter Partnership Center, which was started in 2004, is to be out in the community, looking at what the community needs to be able to improve itself and be able to look at the resources of the university as forms of assistance. We're involved in many programs like grassroots leadership training, Kingian nonviolence, disaster training, and now we have a new exciting program with Hillsborough County Schools. And this program is called Gear Up. You guys can look it up. It's a Department of Education program, highly prestigious. The only one in the state of Florida that was awarded a Gear Up application was Hillsborough County Schools, and it's very competitive. It's a 6-year grant, and a 6-year grant basically looks at 2 cohorts of students, starting out in the 6th grade, and then from the 6th grade on, it will take students from 2 middle schools. We're going to start out with the one middle school is called Gunta, and the other one is Eisenhower. We will follow that cohort of 6th graders, which are about 600 students through each grade until they graduate from high school. The Gunta students will be going to Stoto. The Eisenhower students will be going to East Bay. And we've been tasked as the partner with Hillsborough County Schools as the outreach and community arm. And we met with Christian and some of your leaders previously to kind of provide an overview of what this program is. Part of the key is that we're going to be starting out with very young students, middle school students. We already had our first activity here at USF. We took them out to the ropes course. I figured if we're going to be with them for 6 years, what we want to do right off the bat was have some fun with the kids. We weren't going to do any heavy-duty tours or talking about getting ready to go to college. This is right now the dream stage. This is the stage of getting to develop relationships with these students. So we brought them onto the ropes course. So come now in August when school starts, we'll be working with 7th graders from both schools. And what we're looking at, and I'm going to be passing this around to see if you're interested, we're looking at student organizations or you individually. Right? You know, we look at first student organizations because we're looking at developing mentorship opportunities. Many of these students are first-time college, economically disadvantaged. In some cases, they don't have any support systems, and they're looking for role models. And right now, we're going to start identifying the areas, what we call the dream areas. Dream areas are things that these students might want to do in the future. We're not yet ready to think about college heavily, but we're going to start talking about 2 or 3 dream areas that you might want to consider a student, you know, in the 7th grade. And then we're going to start, through a survey instrument, beginning to pair them up with USF students. I'm looking at student organizations because I'm a guy that believes in sustainability. I don't look at doing a program because we're a partner with Hillsborough County Schools or that we're going to do this as a one-shot deal. And I've always, at Jim Walker Partnership Center, have looked at students and student organizations, you know, to be the primary driver of what we do. Because you guys are the future. You guys are going to be directing a lot of these programs in the future, you know, and you're going to be a little bit more of an identifying resource than I would be to these students. So the closer I can get to the age and the relationship that these 7th graders can have and future 8th graders, the better. The more that they can see themselves here at the university, the better. The more that they can have mentorship opportunities so that they have support system, better. On an individual basis, you guys can help. We look at student organizations. Why? Because if a student organization adopts to be a partner with us in the program, it doesn't matter if you graduate from USF, the organization itself has made the partnership. And then that continues on. I'm planning 6 years from now, so I'm hopefully retired by then. You know, so I want to pass the mantle to somebody else. You guys, in many cases, will be graduating as well. But the design of any program is based on a blueprint. I'm a developer by trade. I've developed buildings. I've walked away and gone to other jobs. The blueprints that I've left behind, except for cosmetic changes, are basically what's been built, even though I wasn't there. I'm trying now to design a blueprint because we've been looking at getting kids ready for college and the university or even a trade school. So we look at it once they start high school. The tours here start once they're in high school. The problem is that the new high school is the middle school. So we got to start earlier and we got to start younger. And the thought is that, you know, if there's some driving goals in my mind, is that these students, first of all, have to stay in school. Before we start talking to college, we've got to keep these students with a sense of hope that they can stay in school. They have to be able to identify themselves here and not show up when they graduate from high school or start doing tours at USF. The relationships must start earlier. So what we're looking at is to develop a brand new partnership program, working with the Office of Community Engagement and working with Hillsborough County Schools. I'm looking at student organizations that would want to participate as mentors. We have workshops that we're going to be presenting. So let's say we got a group of students that want to be engineers, or they want to, you know, look at architecture or social work, pick the degree. Once we identify the groups of students, then we would want to have small workshops at the schools to come in and talk for 8 or 10 minutes about your experience as a student in that area, so that it can be relatable to the students. The mentorship part is the thing is that there are many activities that we do here at USF, and if we can get those students involved and their parents involved and bringing them out here earlier, then these kids are going to be more relatable rather than coming here when they graduate and go, wow, what a big campus. I'm kind of lost in here. How do I get around? They've already developed relationships with folks on campus. with student organizations and different things. So there are a couple of components. Our planning committee is going to be looking at the USF tours. And the USF tours, for the next 5 years.
All right, seeing none, these amendments have been. Are there any more amendments or motions? Senator Clementi. Okay. Are there any motions, just for reference to the Senate, this will go for third reading? So if there are no more amendments, I recommend tabling. Further words on.
Table.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, it's in table.
I came to the idea of writing this and how the Rules Committee came to an agreement and that how this is correct and something that should be passed is, let's say if something happens, you just need to go out. Even if it's religious reasons, you need to pray, or you need to get a cup of water, or you need to use the bathroom. Life happens, you need to go answer that call. This would be a very, very, very nice to say the least, because it's two things. You want a quorum, and at the same time you receive no negative vote. And I feel like in our statute right now, it's not clear as in how can someone be temporarily exempt in Senate. And again, this is temporary exemption. We're not trying to make this okay that you can get out of Senate. This is just something it's kind of more of a format, more of rules, more of a how would you be going about this? You need to be exempt. So I hope I really hope we both of us, of course, explain this. At the same time, would you mind? I know we said this before. Would you mind explaining how you see it, kind of your point of view as Sergeant Farm? Sure.
It's good for records keeping, so if you don't click in for a vote, this way we'll know you were out of the room and that it was excused. We decided to leave this, kind of loose because, like he said, anything could happen where you might have to leave, and we do want to have a procedure for that. A couple things that we were discussing that I would like to open up to the Senate floor is we chose 15 minutes, but some people have said that number's too little, and also that abusing their personal privileges, that, who determines that and how that is confirmed. But I think as from the Sergeant of Arms perspective, it's good to know where all the clickers are, who's calling in, and who keeps leaving and coming back.
And two things I want to add quickly for puzzle discussions. First would be who would be the task of handling all this? Would it be the Senate President Pro Tempore? And is that okay for not just him right now, just in the future? If that's okay to kind of get this more of a task that this wouldn't be to be daunting on him or her. The second would be how do you feel about 15 minutes? I know you mentioned that as well. I want to mention again, how do you feel about 15? And that is it. Thank you.
Thanks, Senators. Now we're into question and answer period. Are there any questions? Chairwoman Dinger.
I'm really curious to know how we will know whether senators are abusing this personal privilege. What if someone, just drank a lot of water that day and they have to go constantly? There's no really appropriate way to keep track of that. That was the question.
Okay.
Yes, that was the question.
Okay, perfect. First of all, we can do something as in pull up another sheet where you can do the time in and time out. It shows you how many times you went out. You can easily tell if someone's going out a lot. If it's having something that's completely redundant, then you can easily tell this is someone probably most likely using that power. Again, this would be discretion up to most likely an individual in SunX. So I hope that answered your question clearly.
Chairman Hibble.
Oh,
Okay. Senator Wilcox.
So I feel like that's just kind of like a toothless sentence there, because there's not really any sort of name attached to who decides personal privilege. I think that if
you're going to put in that thing, which I think is important because I don't think people will be leaving
Is this a
repeatedly.
question or a discussion?
It's more of a question in that who do you think should be attached to that? Because there does need to be a name, and do you feel there should be a name?
I feel yes. I want to get his point out and put it on his course. I say yes. It makes sense for me to set a precedent.
I think this would be best overseen by Sergeant at Arms, the pro temp and president, to somebody who's coming back and they know somebody's leaving and know they'll come back in 15 minutes. They can just come and talk to me. If they're leaving and they know that they're going to be gone for longer than that, they can just inform the president of the pro temp. But since I'm the one with the sheet actually writing in who's gone out, who's come back, and how many times, I think it would just be easiest if I sat down with the president after each meeting, said these people left, these people came back, and that way, we could determine who's actually abusing the privilege.
Senator Haber.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious on how the procedure for events is by Darish.
So right now we're in a question and answer period. When we get into discussion, then you guys can make many amendments. Carolyn Danik.
Okay. So is this saying that if you would like to be excused from the room, that you report to the Sergeant of Arms and they temporarily excuse you? What happens if you're not excused later?
I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah.
Can you rephrase that, please?
Yeah.
So this is saying you're temporarily excused. You report to the Sergeant of Arms and you're temporarily excused from the room. Later, you're saying that you would report to the pro temp 4 and go over the excuses. What if you weren't excused during the meeting?
So the intent of this legislation is to detail the process for if you need or if you want or if you need to take care of something outside of the room, what to do for that. If it's an emergency situation, then that calls your immediate attention after. So when we say excused in this legislation, we're saying that when you're out of the room during that 15 minutes, if a vote comes up or if they do a roll call, then you will be counted as excused. If you are considered abusing this personal privilege, then you will be counted as unexcused. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Do you have a follow-up?
Okay. Follow-up question. So what I'm asking is, you're temporarily excused. Is that then checked only if you're abusing your power, or every single time you have to be excused?
You would need to sign in every single time. Sign out every single time you're going out. And then you come back and you sign in. Does that answer your question? Okay. Are you referring to how can you tell someone is abusing the power or abusing the privileges instead?
No. What I'm asking is, so when you go to sign in your clicker to the Sergeant of Arms when you're leaving the room, are you automatically excused and that stays excused, or is it then checked by the pro temp 4?
I understand. Okay, so at the end of the meeting, I will look over and say you were going for 11 minutes and this person was going for 6 minutes. As long as it's under 15, then there will be, I'll just give the sheet to Christian and say there's no problem. If it's over 15, then we'll look at that chunk of time, compare it to the minutes, see if there was a vote or an attendance that was in that time, and they will be counted as unexcused. So,
I'd like to go into a 10-minute moderated. I move to enter a 10-minute moderated caucus with 1 minute speaking.
Are there any objections to 10-minute moderated caucus?
I
Okay, do you rescind your question?
rescind for one question.
Okay, Senator Riley.
Alright, so you said that if you would have to leave for any reason, 12, 15 minutes, beforehand that you leave, you could ask the pro temp for the Senate President. How are you going to do that in this discussion that we're having for the Senate meeting?
yes. So, like I said, the intent of this piece that Senator Amonier wrote was that if you need to leave and you're going to be less than 15 minutes, we could always add on another one, another clause or statute, I think it's called. You could add on another one that says if you know you're going to be more than 15 minutes, then you can tell that to the Sergeant at Arms, or you can tell it to the pro temp or the president, and then you'll be marked as excused for the rest of the meeting. I didn't think to add that in, but this would be the appropriate place for it, so could make a motion, add something, details and answers that similar.
If I can also answer, I'm sorry. If I can also answer, there's a few things actually. First of all, if you don't know, like when you need to go actually use the bathroom or drink water or answer all the things you can answer, this would be the correct way and right way, especially with dealing with rules and how structured. That it's the correct way you can sign out and sign back in, and you don't have any quorum, and you receive payment. Also, as well, I think this would be again. I want to hear Senate President on this too. I think it would be a lot more quicker, a lot more efficient if we do it this way instead of informing them in the future. Because a lot of times, like I said, things happen, and those things are not easy.
Chairman Hill,
I'd like to reinstate my motion.
are there any objections to a 10-minute moderated caucus with 1 minute speaking time? Seeing none, Chairman Hill continues the motion. You may make the first point.
Thank you. The way that this is written right now, the Sergeant at Arms does not get the power to call people as unexcused. It's not one of the powers of the Sergeant at Arms. Sergeant at Arms records when people leave and when people come back. Now, when a person leaves a meeting and they miss a vote, in the system, that counts as a point against that sentence. They didn't call in as excused before the meeting, if they did, that is. So they're expected to vote. They had signed up whatever form was before that was, even if it was like first roll call. So the system is expecting them. And if they don't vote, then the system counts them as having not voted. So what this has is, after all that takes place, at the end of the meeting, the Sergeant at Arms hands that paper in to whoever's in charge of attendance. That would be the Senate President Pro Tem. Now, the Senate President Pro Tempore does not have to excuse anyone, does not have to excuse anyone ever. He doesn't have to give out excused absence. So the Senate President Pro Tempore will look at people, say, oh, they would have gotten 6 points, but here it says they were absent during the votes, so I'm just going to not give them.
5. Okay. Senator Haber.
Thank you. I just kind of curious. There was some confusion about the process at the end regarding determining if somebody. It's the one at the end. I don't have my glasses. I can't read it. About people abusing it. Is that one? Yes. Yeah. So I was thinking maybe we could find some kind of number of times they leave in a 2-hour period, or the number of times they leave for an entire session, to kind of create some more concrete way to determine it's being used. Just kind of open up that discussion.
Okay, I have Chairman Hippa, then Griffin, and then David.
The 4.10.2.2 was kind of left open-ended on purpose, just because we don't want to put down a number there. We don't want to put down a total amount of time or anything like that. If the President Pro Tempore gets the impression that it's being abused, or he always has the power to deny an excused absence request. So this is for people who, if you know about it beforehand, if you know it's going to take a while, you can always notify well in advance. If the meeting is going on longer than expected, you want to talk to him in person, tell him you can't be here for the rest of the meeting, then you can be excused for the rest of the meeting. This is not part of statute, it's just what we do. But this is if you just want to go to the bathroom, if you just want to get a piece of paper, something like that. Nothing major, just want to go and come back, then this covers you. Just because there are times when I leave for 2 minutes and it turns out I missed a vote. And this is just to cover that.
Great, thank you, Senator Griffin.
I don't think this bill is necessary at all. I think that we all make this commitment to be here in the Senate, and that as a commitment, you should be able to hold your restroom abilities for longer than a couple of hours. So I don't see that as needed. This is a commitment that we all make, that we should be able to be here the entire time. In regards to the religion aspect, I also don't think that this bill qualifies for that, because I think the religion aspect, you would be leaving every week, and I don't consider that to be temporary. I think would want to talk to the pro tempore that's used, and that because if you're missing it every week, that's not a temporary exemption, that's a weekly exemption. And then finally, I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Senator Davidson.
I am actually in the middle of both of you said. So I thought long and hard about this, and I kept going back to the realization, it wouldn't make sense to put in a line on how to punish you guys for not doing what it says, because, you're all adults, you're all responsible, you're all committed to the Senate, so obviously you're going to come here. I played with the idea of thinking, if you're over 15 minutes 5 times, then you lose some points at the end of the semester. But then again, like it doesn't, it's not really appropriate to take away from you guys because you're already supposed to be here. You're committed.
Thank you. Next I have Senator Bean. Do you still have a point?
I was just hoping that somebody could clarify what exactly is the procedure that we go by now. If somebody does go to the restroom, just nobody, or do we just give him the clicker and then we're just expected to come back and nothing's reported about it? I don't see that the system that's already in place is a problem anyway. So
Next I have Chairman Hepburn.
Yeah, well, actually, that was one of the reasons why this bill was drafted, besides the religion standpoint, because people sometimes just leave the clickers on the desk, sometimes they don't check it in, and there's nothing really in place to identify that procedure. This is putting that procedure in place. When you want to leave, just make sure you don't bother anybody, turn in the clicker so we know that you're out. So, like, you don't have 2 or 3 clickers on a desk with nobody there, so one person can go the time. It's not that that's an issue, just don't have your clickers out in front of you if you're not there. Just put some nice procedures down. Gives you an incentive, which is the incentive here being that if you're leaving, you excuse. Just so if you do have to go to the bathroom, you're not like too badly penalized for it. Say quorum is taken twice, you get 4 points. That's 40% of your points for the semester. Stuff happens, and if you need to leave, I mean, the whole point of this is to be really casual, nonchalant. It's not supposed to be really big or frightening. Nothing that you have to know beforehand. Like, for example, the prayer thing, that changes every week. Sometimes Senator isn't going to want to go to the Pro Tempore way early in advance. Be like, I'm going to be out for 15 minutes. Again, when you go to Pro Tempore, it's usually when you want to be excused for the whole meet or for the rest of the day. If it's just for something small, just letting you leave.
Time, thank you. Next we have Chairwoman Dichter.
The only reason I completely agree with having a bill like this is because it keeps things objective. I personally don't have any religious obligations during Senate, but I remember last year as a senator, I got at least like 4 points. I missed quorum and I missed votes because I had a family emergency. I had a phone call that I have to pick up no matter what. And, you know, life happens, and it's not fair to not give us a chance to be able to step out of the room for a few minutes to handle whatever issue that we're dealing with.
Thank you. Next we have Chairwoman Sanders. So, all right, Senator Almenair.
My sole point is this bill is very necessary because it's only going to, we don't have a framework now. Again, I want to repeat what Chairwoman Dinter said and Chairwoman Hibbett said. I think they both explained it terrifically. And I think this bill, again, is very necessary.
Thank you. Next we had Senator Griffin.
In regards to Chairwoman Ditzer's comment, I think you're given 10 points for a reason. You have 10 points to be able to step out of the room if you need to. That's why you have 10 points that you're allowed to miss aside from your one excused absence. So I think those 10 points are what qualifies as why you're supposed to leave the room, and this bill is not needed.
Okay, Chairman Hibbett.
If there's no more points, I'd like first, I move that we enter voting procedures.
Are there any objections to moving the voting procedure? Senator Miller.
I do object because I do have
Do you?
I was in for that one.
Okay. Senator Miller.
Okay, so I do think we should have this, but I don't think that it's enough. For example, if someone is to be subjectively abusing their personal privilege, there should be an appeals process for that towards some entity. Does anybody have anything on that?
Okay, thank you, Senator Miller. Chairman Hibbett.
Towards is enough. It's a step in the right direction. It's a step in the right direction, I feel. It doesn't matter if it's like the last step or the final step. We can always make more amendments later. But I feel like this is all good. This is helpful. Regarding an appeals process, just earlier, well, I don't think we actually passed it. So anyways, Senex will be looking at appeals for excused and unexcused absences. We can throw that in there if we need to. And with that, I reinstate my motion.
Are there any objections to moving the voting procedures on this bill? Seeing none, everyone please get out your voters. Okay, 1 is to pass the procedural bill, 2 is voting on the fact. procedural bill, and Grace abstained. Okay, has everybody clicked in? For the vote count of 22 to 6 to 2 with me as one of the abstentions, can the other abstention please state their name?
I wrote the bill, and I think it's only correct 5 states.
Okay. And with this, the bill passes. Okay, next on the agenda, we have SDS 56-002, Title 8 Improvement to New Traditions Grant. Do we have a motion to enter first reading? Chairwoman Wyden.
So moved.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, we are now in first reading. Alright, and we have Chairwoman Bannock and Senator Terry.
Good evening, Senate. So the first change we made was to 810.
Okay. So let me explain. This is an amendment to 8.10 to change the new tradition grant process.
So the first amendment we made was to 810.3.1, and just the after final allocation portion, and then added in 810.2, the homecoming, and the new tradition grant is swept into the trailer grant account as needed by a majority, 2/3 votes of the special funding committee. And then for 810.5.8, remove the student organization section 5.3 for an event which will occur in fall, must do so no later than close of business on the last Friday in June. And those wishing to apply for an event which will occur in spring must do so no later than close of business days of the last Friday of October. So we changed it to student organizations that wish to apply for fall or spring new tradition grant for an event which will fall that must do so at least 25 business days before the event. Those wishing to apply for an event for spring must do so at least 25 days. I just switched that out. And then for 810.5.8.1, we removed the after-mentioned deadline and the 1st of July. And that's it.
Okay. Are there any questions about this bill? Chairman Herba?
No.
Okay. And this will have to be the second reading, so it's either you have questions or you move to table. Go to correspondence.
You have questions, Senator Riddle? All right, I move to table.
Okay, are there any objections to tabling? Seeing none, SBS 56-002 has been tabled. Next on the agenda is SBS 56-003, Title II Amendment. And we have, the author is Chairwoman Dinster and the sponsor is Chairman Hill. Is there a motion to enter first reading? Senator Almenara. Any objections? Seeing none, we are now in first reading.
Hello, Legislator Klein.
Hello.
Here we have Title II bill. 205.2.3, a reasonable attempt shall be made to change fabric and complete 1.
I don't know, am I supposed to? Okay. All right. Hi, guys. I've made a few changes. For 205.2.3, I just basically, I don't know why it says that's spelled wrong. Anyway, we could change the spelling later. I just cleaned up the wording. It says the exact same thing, just differently. I can read it out. A reasonable attempt shall be, it used to say, a reasonable attempt shall be made to ensure that the minutes of all student government meetings be transcribed to accurately reflect a verbatim transcript of the entire course dialogue throughout the meeting, beginning with a call to order and terminating only upon adjournment.
And we actually also added the exception of monocopy and recess.
because we do stop the recorders, don't think during minor talk, kind of put non-minor talk to me, but the previous phrasing makes this exactly happen. Starting at adjourn, starting at without the order.
It's less wordy, easier to read. 205.2.3.2 says, minutes shall be dispersed or published after they have been formally approved to be valid and accurate by the body that the minutes pertain to. Any particular meeting's minutes must be approved within 30 business days or the next meeting, whichever occurs later. If the term has ended with minutes that have yet to be approved by the meeting body, the new term may approve the previous term's minutes with the condition of including the statement as follows. So the reason that I wrote this is because one of my biggest ethical concerns when I first became chairwoman was I was asked to disperse the minutes of the previous term's appropriations and audits to my current committee and have them approve them, saying, you know, what was said was valid and accurate. And I was not the chair last term. Most of the committee members are no longer here. They've graduated or they're not in Senate. I felt it was objectively wrong for me to approve these minutes, you know, to say that someone said something and it was valid and accurate when it might have not been, and now it's on me that I allowed this piece of, you know, transcription to be posted everywhere and dispersed. So I included that. Kristen, Donish, and I spoke about it. I got a legal opinion from Richie, our Attorney General, and I spoke to Gary, of course, about it. And they all kind of recommended that I write a blurb of basically what to put in front of the minutes or to even say during committee so that it is aware to whoever's reading the minutes, if it is from another term, that they're not, that we can't approve them to be valid or accurate, for we were not that specifically body. So I wrote I, name, title. So, for example, would be I, Melissa Dinser, Chairwoman of Appropriations and Audits, along with meeting body would be Appropriations and Audits Committee. Approve these minutes to be dispersed, but cannot guarantee them to be valid or accurate since the meeting body is no longer in session. So it implies that that term is over. This is a new term. We don't know whether it's valid or accurate. And that was just moved. That is still there, what we crossed out. It's just higher up because it makes more sense for it to be before the blurb.
Do we have any questions or any motion? Senator Griffin.
I'm going to enter question and answer period 10 minutes.
Okay. We're already in a question and answer period, but if you want to put a time limit, you can.
No. There isn't.
Okay. Are there any questions or any motions? This is currently on its first reading, and it's going to be second reading, so either questions or a motion to table. Chairwoman Banning.
Okay. So I have a question. With this blurb that you mentioned, would that be posted on the website where the minutes are found, or where would that be posted?
Chairman Hibble.
This is actually thing that we did have a very in-depth conversation about more than pretty much every meeting body that is built in. So the consensus was to try and keep it simple. Just have the blurb there, and wherever it ends up being, we'll figure that out. Basically, it's not stated in statute what it's supposed to happen. So it gives the person writing the legislation, who's writing that, what we're supposed to do is that freedom to decide what's best in that particular situation.
In a way, as chair people, we're given statutes, we're giving our rules of procedure, and as a chairperson, we're trusted by the Senate that we're going to use our discretion and discernment to be able to, do our jobs correctly and be able to implement the statutes as efficiently as possible. So to an extent, the Senate elects their chair people. They have to have some level of trust with them. This blurb, we discussed that it can either just be mentioned while the minutes are being approved. It can be pulled up and they basically say it so that it's on the minutes of that meeting of approving those minutes. So automatically it's kind of included, if that makes sense. or to put this before, if you've ever seen like the minutes transcription at the very top, it kind of looks like a bill. So we could write it as like where the intent of legislation is, for example, is supposed to be in like italics. We can put that on that specific session meeting. So there's many ways to put it and include it. It's really up to the chair.
Okay, Chairwoman Vanek. Okay, so I have a follow-up. So these minutes from the previous term will never be seen or sent out to the current committee?
Chairman Hibble.
They would still be sent out to the committee, and the committee would still have to vote on them, or just do them by acclamation. And it's just that this would be added to. The committee still sees them; they're still posted online for everyone to see, and I yield the rest of my time on this.
Okay, Chairwoman Baker.
Because of Florida state laws, every transcription has to be made public, which makes sense. But just because something wasn't transcribed on time, that's not really a chairperson's fault. There's very little that we can do to control when the transcriptions are complete. So it gives us, I guess, more accountability. You know, we can't, if a future employer looks up, Senate minutes for their new employee and sees that they said something and they argue that it was not said by them, we go back to the recordings and listen to it, it was indeed not said by them. It would be unfair for people to get penalized just because a future chairperson of a Senate term that's not even in the session anymore had to be penalized for that.
Are there any more questions on the motion? Senator Griffin.
So why are we putting this statement on there but still approving the minutes even though we don't know that they're factual?
Chairwoman District.
The idea of approving minutes is to approve them or allow them to be posted online or dispersed or for other people to see it. According to Florida state laws, it has to be made public. Our transcriptions have to be made public. But it's not necessarily guaranteeing the exact, words to be completely valid or accurate because we don't know. The session is not, the term is not a session.
Chairman Dovo.
Yeah.
Senator Griffin.
So I'm not completely understanding why it has to be approved at all because it seems like you're removing the blame from the chairperson, but you're not, all of the committee members are still voting to approve something that more than likely most of them were not even there. So this statement doesn't not hold them accountable. It only doesn't hold the chairperson.
Chairman Hibble.
I understand the question. Are you saying for previous terms of minutes, why doesn't the chair just go through them alone without the committee and send them to the website?
That would
Senator
be my
Griffin.
question. Yes.
Okay. Chairman Hibble.
If that's something that you and the Senate body wants to put into this bill, that's
Okay, are there any more? Senator Eisenhower.
I actually kind of have a inquiry, I suppose. Senator Griffin, from your question, I understood that the minutes have to be approved anyway and posted anyway, so why do we approve them in committee?
My question was.
Senator Griffin.
My question was, if they have to be posted, and I completely understand that. But if we're not a part of the approve, if we weren't there, we don't know. Why are we approving them if we haven't been there? Essentially.
Great question. I agree.
Chairman Hibble.
So, again, the way I understand it, the alternative would be to not send it as an old term minute and just have the chair or any other person, chair would seem like the appropriate person, do that on their own. And again, if that's what you want to do, this is the format. Or if you want, you could come back to us later since this bill is ready and add that change.
Chairwoman District.
I completely agree with you, Senator Griffin. I think it doesn't make sense at all for a chairperson of a new term to be approving minutes from a different term or a committee from a different term to be approving minutes. from a term that's out of session, but I was told by literally every single one of my superiors, including the Attorney General, that I have no choice and that I have to have them approved somehow, some way. And they told me that this is the only option that they were willing to give me to write a blurb. So I tried.
Chairwoman Banning.
Okay. So are you then saying that this is the chair's responsibility to approve the minutes or the new term committee?
Chairman.
So as of now, it's just like a regular set of minutes. We're not going that path, so you don't have to worry about that at least now. It does say in this same statute, Title II, that all the minutes have to be approved by the committee. That is a change that would have to be made if the alternative all approved. But anyways, right now it says all minutes have to be approved by the committee before they're posted, and so that's just the responsibility, one of the responsibilities of the committee. I mean, the chair of the committee would be the chair's responsibility as well. But still, just like a regular set of minutes, the only difference is it has this blurb added to it, some way, shape.
Okay, are there any questions or are there any motions to table? Senator Kennedy.
I move the table.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, this has been tabled. Okay, next on the agenda is SCS 56-001. Is there a motion to enter third reading? Chairwoman Banning.
So moved.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, we are now in third reading of SCS 56-001 with Chairman Nicolai.
Hello again. This is the Title I maintenance bill. Changes to Title I. I think this is the first bill that the Senate has seen for this term. Here it has some updates to the table of contents. Just changing the names that we have in our table of contents to what the actual name of these chapters are, just because that's what the table of contents is for, it's a reference. So when you have it in the table of contents, the reference is what it is, wherever else it is. Here in 100.4, it gets rid of the copy of codification on the SG website and puts it in its own subclass. So it's not changed. To talk about the codification, that it contains everything that has been presented. Previously, it's the only things that have passed Senate, that have passed Senate and been signed by the student body president and Senate president. That really doesn't make sense. Like, the student body president can decide not to sign it, and it still becomes approved anyways if it passes their 10-day signing limit. So, we removed that from the equation, and it's not just everything that passes Senate either. It's everything. If it's presented to Senate and it's failed, or it's presented to Senate and vetoed, it's just so we can have that legislative history, so we can have everything that's been presented to Senate. And of course, because it's digital, also somewhere else in the legislation, I removed the need for paper keeping documents. So because it's digital, you can have a lot of stuff. Impression formats are getting better. It's more efficient. It's easier, and we are not incapable of keeping records. Here at the end of the legislative term, it says, I removed the part where it shall be stored in the Senate office to be for reference uses only, and legislation older than the 10th term shall be archived. Instead of that, I just put in, when it's updated, when any legislation is updated, the old version shall be digitally archived, and the new version, and replace the new version by the Senate President, because that seems like the right person to be replacing it. And also because we don't really have any size limits on storing old legislation. 10 years from now, when that 10-year deadline will have passed, we'll probably have thousands of terabytes of data space.
I know it's getting late and we've been here for a while, but you guys have stayed.
So that, regardless, that's not. Yeah. So continuing, this is about the last part. Let's go back up. All right. This last blurb here on 100.6.2, that's about this part, where it states that only the 5 most recent amendments will be printed. Less recent amendments will be archived and available for reference. Right now, that 5 number is really vague. It's 5. Is this the most recent version that I said? Okay, because well, it states 5. And the recent legislative history can be printed on a per page, per chapter, or per title basis. So that would be, you can have 5 there's something else that I had in there. Regardless, we'll get to that. It's just saying that you can print them at the end of each page, you can print them at the end of each chapter, and you can print them at the end of the entire document. Here, regular amendments and special amendments is kind of separated them from the stuff that's talking about them. Here in 101.4, it states that all the amendments to the SG statutes take place immediately, and then it gives some exceptions. And so I added Chapter 303 and 306 to the branch transition document and the branch structure, because these are changes that particular branch makes to Title III, or that they request to be made to Title III, that don't go into place, or that we hope don't go into place right away, because otherwise they would change the current executive branch structure, which means we can have, say, a director of outreach, and then the next term decides to get rid of that. So even if the first term isn't over yet, the position has to. So that's just getting rid of that. Here we're changing student government advisor to a director of Esgato. Alleged added a D. Chair of the Senate Committee on Sharing Ethics added that individual to list of people who are notified when someone gets a notice of non-compliance, just because JEC is able to give them out, along with a couple of the other bodies in that list, and it just makes sense. Here's definitions. I haven't changed any definitions except for one, and the only thing I changed was the placement of it. I added University of South Florida instead.
Okay. Now we're in the question and answer period. Are there any questions about the bill? If there are no questions, are there any motions to go into a discussion period? Cheryl and Danny. Okay. Are there any objections to moving into discussion period? Seeing none, we're in discussion. Cheryl and Danny, since you made the motion.
And yield my time to the chair.
Okay. Are there any points of discussion from the Senate? This is the time if you have amendments that you want to make or any points that you want to bring up. For the correspondence.
Just a reminder, we can go ahead and vote on the bill now. We can go ahead and vote on the bill now, since it's third reading, so if you have any discussion points.
Okay, Senator.
Oh, I was just going to, Chairman Hibbs said he had something that he maybe.
Okay, Chairman Hill.
Just go to the very top. I remember making a change. Can you just go back down? Somewhere in this area to 100.6.1, stating that it's the five most recent amendments. Never mind. Right now, 100.6.2, I added it as just when these are printed with paper, but I remember making a change to 100.6.1 that stated that 5 recent amendments per chapter, just 5 per chapter or 5 per title, but I'm not sure. We don't.
The version that I have for the last one meeting did have. Any more points of discussion or motion? Senator Griffin. Are there any objections to moving into voting procedure? Seeing none, everyone please get out your list. Alright, 1 is to pass the bill, 2 not pass the bill, and 3 to abstain. Okay, has everyone clicked in? Yeah, 30-0, 1 with the abstaining chair, the bill is passed. Okay, next on the agenda, we have announcements. Does anybody have any announcements? Pros or correspondence?
Real quickly, on its way out, Manny gave me back the sheet, so if anyone is interested in Jim Bolter Partnership, please sign in here. Secondly, Polo? Yeah, if you haven't emailed Kristen or replied to the email with your polo size, please think about it. I think it was something else, but I can't remember, so set.
Okay, Senator Almaner.
If you're interested in attending, I would highly suggest you. I know it's a little short-term notice. Tomorrow, the Jim Walter meeting is at 3:45 to 4:15. So if you would like to attend that, I would suggest it. So, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Person for response.
Where's the location of the meeting?
SG conference room.
Person for response.
I believe you have another meeting in that SG conference.
And probably.
Okay, we can discuss this afterwards. If you're interested in attending the meeting, please let Senator Almaner know and we'll figure out the location. Any more announcements? Person for response.
I move to enter final roll call. So, I rescind.
Just a couple of things. First off, if there are any things that you guys have an interest at USF in general, please let Don and I know. If there's any initiatives that have already been working on, we can connect you with people. Another thing is with the bills, the reason why we send that out ahead of time is if you guys have amendments or questions or anything to come prepared with it. Also, they are all reviewed in the Committee on Rules, which meets on Thursdays at, I think 6 p.m. Correct, Pilates? 6 p.m. for Thursday. Or
It might change to 5.
Okay, so it's currently at 6 p.m., but it might change to 5 p.m. And that's when we really dissect all of the bills. If you have questions or amendments, that's the time to do it there. Also, if you do have amendments to bills, you should be emailing those to me ahead of time before the Senate meeting so that I'm able to present them. And it makes everything flow a lot easier. We don't have Senate next week, but you still have committee meetings unless your committee chairs decide that. Okay, Senator Almaner.
All right, correction. All right, now we're all excited. Awesome. It's Thursday, not Wednesday. 3:45 p.m. 4:15. Thursday, not Wednesday. I apologize. Thursday, SG conference room, 3:45 to 4:15. Apologies.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more announcements? Okay, just one more thing. I'll be honest, I don't like gabbling you guys and telling you that you have to get off your laptops and your phones. If you guys pay attention, things will go by much quicker. So if your goal is to get out of here quicker, then get off your phone. Thank you. Are there any motions? Are there any objections to moving the final roll call? Seeing none, everyone please get out your players. Okay, press 1 if you're present. Okay, and with the final roll call of 31, do we have any motions to adjourn? Senator Hassan.
I move to adjourn.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, we are adjourned at 8:36 p.m.